All right, Beth, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, my name is Beth Koon. I teach outside of Kansas City, in a suburb outside of Kansas City, and I've been teaching for about 10 years.
And then why did you start to flip your instruction?
The very first time I ever flipped was actually so that I could teach weaving better, because they couldn't see the little strings, and I wanted to be able to zoom in. And as I flipped it more and more, what I realized was it was a much better way to show instruction than the traditional gathering around the table. Because when they're gathered around the table, when they're little, they're all leaning in, and then the people in the back can't see. And by the time you're done with it, you'll have like four little first graders or kindergartners like right there, and nobody else can see. And the bigger kids are too big to gather around the table, and they're shoving each other, and they're squeezed all in. And I mean, God forbid somebody farts because they completely lost it, and they all just fall down in a pile of gags and giggles. So by keeping them, by projecting it as a video, whether you do it pre-recorded or live, it keeps them in their seats, lights off, they're focused, and you don't have that transition time of coming to the table and going back to their seats. And if you've got a lot of little steps where they've got to follow along, they stay right there with their materials, and you don't have, again, that transition time of coming to the presenting table and then going back to their seats. So.
Oh, and now tell us a little bit then about how you flip. You talked about whether it was live or not live, so explain to us about how you flip.
What I do, I would say 90% of the time, I pre-record. I take it into video editing software, and that way I can do a voiceover. So I've got my whole script that I would say. There's no distraction for me. I can say exactly what I want to say. I can also fast forward during like the coloring in parts or the parts that just take a long time, but you got to get through all of it to get to the next step. So especially when it's like, and you color in the sky. I mean, coloring in a sky, that can take 15 minutes, and you don't want to do that when you're doing a live performance, because you're like, and then just color in the rest of the sky. And I swear, every time I would do that, I get 2 or 3 kids that didn't color in the sky, and they're like, but you didn't do it. And so by doing that, by fast forwarding, I mean, you can fast forward to like 2,000% faster, and so a 15-minute section squeezed down to 20 seconds. But they get to see that the whole thing gets colored in, and gets colored in neatly and completely. And then I also like to be able to add background music, because it does keep the interest up. It's just not as boring. I mean, because we are talking about something that's nonfiction and, an instruction, but with a little bit of nice background music, even during the parts where I'm not talking, and especially during the parts where I'm not talking, where it is just, and then do this step, it keeps that interest up. So.
Now, you talked about editing, so what software do you use to edit then?
Well, currently we're on Apple products, so currently I'm using iMovie. I've also used Windows Movie Maker too, is a great software, and then I've used a few other ones throughout the years. But the software that you're going to want is a software where you can fast forward, where you can add background music, where you can add a voiceover, and where you can rotate the whole thing, because sometimes, depending on the equipment you're using, you might shoot it upside down, and then you're going to want to rotate that 180 degrees.
Well, and then you talked about music. Where do you get your music from then that you can use?
I've discovered there's a great website called Purple Planet that you can download from some free copyright free background music. Also, a lot of the video editing software will come with some free background music too. So you can go and get yourself a CD royalty-free background music.
And then tell us a bit about how you flip, or excuse me, I asked that one already. What are some tips or tricks that you would give to other art teachers who want to flip their classrooms?
I would say that if you're going to flip your classroom, the first thing you're going to need to do is find the hardware and the software. So, so I'll show you some of the ways that I've flipped in the past. Set this up here. Hopefully you can see that.
Yeah.
So I at one point I had an Elmo here, like a digital projector. The problem with this is that it didn't get up high enough to get a full 12 by 18, so I had to stack it up on some books.
Oh, sure.
One way to do it. Another way to do it here is on a tripod with a digital camera or with a video camera, video recorder. So that's another way to do it. And then the way that I currently do it and that I've enjoyed is right over here. Here's my setup. And so all I do is I pull out this desk, and I've got a music stand with a bungee cord.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So music stand with a bungee cord, and then you just slip your iPad onto the bungee cord. That way it won't slip on you. And you can see that's how it is. And then I'll show you what my students see. So then there it is projected on my screen.
Oh.
So if I'm doing a live performance, you know, my students can still see it. Also, whenever you are recording yourself, you want to make sure that you can see yourself so you don't get off camera. During some of my first videos, I get off camera, and I'm like, yeah, so at the top of the screen that you're supposed to write your name there. So you just want to make sure that you stay on camera, either by able to see yourself, or if you don't have a hardware where you can see yourself while you're recording. Mark off an area with like a dry erase or a vis-a-vis or something, or some tape. Mark off the area that the camera captures, and that way you stay in there. It's one of the reasons why I like the small desk, is because my camera captures that desk. So I've got it already measured out there.
Oh, sure. And then how have your students responded to this method?
My students think it's great. You know, they're very used to it. They also are used to watching TV in general. So they think it's great because it's something that they are used to. They get the instructions very, very quickly. They don't have to stand around and smell other people's farts. And also, it's also great because if there's any kind of disruption or interruption, like the office calls on the PA, please send so-and-so to the office. If a kid decides to go ahead and be squirrely, you know, and disruptive, I can just pause the movie. You know, if they do start talking about, you know, the upcoming basketball game or whatever, I can pause the movie. I can be like, we need to focus on this, you know. Pause it, rewind it, try it again. Also, if a kid just comes in super late or was absent the week before, I hand them my iPad and load up the video, push play, they take it back to their seat, and then after they've watched the video, they come up and they get the materials, and they are as caught up as anybody else. And I can still work with all of my other students. Now, when I'm giving like a live performance, there's a few times I'll do that when I do like a demo and do, like when I'm demonstrating, like drawing a fish in first grade, you know, and now everybody make an oval. And I'll make the oval, and then I can walk around and make sure everybody's doing it. And even when I do a recorded one, like I just did a sculpture project, paper sculpture project, I was able to pause the video, walk around, and make sure everybody had folded the paper just right, because it was one of those, you know, very particular folding exercises. So it was great that I'm able to be in two places at once. Another benefit is as the video is playing, I'm the one passing out the papers, and my students have been trained, don't touch your materials while the movie's going. So I put down, you know, the pieces of paper on each table and the other supplies on each table, and they just kind of ignore me, and then they can just hit the ground running. So again, that transition time of passing out the materials, you know, I get to be in two places at once. It's like I'm my own aide.
Oh, Beth, thank you so much for your advice and input. We greatly appreciate your willingness to share.
No problem.